The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature.
All right, on the line with us, back on the show, first time in about, I think, almost 2 years. Almost 2 years, I think. Blogger, Dr. Jacobs, of course, on the show. He's the editor-in-chief and founder of JoshOffThePress.com. Josh, what's up, man?
Hey, what's going on, man?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute. I know the last time I was on, it was probably like a year and a half ago. I got cut a little bit short, but
it was
here I am.
Ago. Yeah, it was a year and a half ago. We recorded a show, I believe, late 2017, and I think we were both you had your daughter with you, and then I had my son, who at the time was still like under a year old, and both of them decided to, give fits in the middle of the recording. We kept the recording for the most part. It's actually sounded, all considering the difficulty of talking, it came out okay, actually.
Yeah, no, it was cool. I think you played a lot of music to stretch it out to an hour, though.
Did I?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe my memory's faulty.
No,
but
okay.
Anyway, how you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. I mean, it's 2019. The world is still weird. Did you
That's right.
Did you watch the State of the Union address last night?
You know what? I did not, and maybe that's not good because I'm biased. Because if it was Obama, I probably would have watched it. But with the State of the Union last night, I just saw it on Twitter. I had a few friends texting me about their take on it. Two friends in particular. One girl who leans a little bit more liberal but likes to watch all different newscasts, and another buddy who actually really stumps for Trump a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of interesting hearing both their perspectives. I thought I kind of got a good idea of how it went from them, and just following Twitter and the blogs as well.
Now, I imagine the two friends that contacted you when you didn't watch it, I imagine both of them gave their point of view according to their worldview, I'm assuming, or was there any surprises there?
Yeah, no, there wasn't surprises. I mean, it's interesting. I used to be super active in political pages on Facebook.
Right.
And I helped found a bunch of groups and everything, and used to get really into it, especially through the 2012 election.
Right.
Like old quick, because you're kind of arguing with the same people over and over. Now I'm more selective in who I speak to, but I do have friends that are Trump supporters. And, they have some interesting takes. My old man's a little bit sympathetic to Trump, too. And sometimes, that has been a sore topic. Now he just says, let's not discuss it. Don't pick on me. I feel like you're making fun of me for him not doing well. Okay.
Is he a Republican or independent or what?
He always identified himself as a Reagan Democrat.
Okay.
Way back in the day.
So kind of like a blue dog Democrat.
I guess so. I actually think there's a new moniker for it now. It's probably your Obama-Trump voters. If you compare, you don't even have to look at both of Obama's elections, but compare the 2012 election and the 2016 election. Look at the state of Iowa. Iowa's over 93% white. Obama won that state by 3 to 4 percentage points.
Mm-hmm.
And Trump won that state by 3 to 4 percentage points. So just look at that state right there, and you probably have the highest concentration of people that probably voted for Obama twice and voted for Trump. So
very moderate. So in other words, pretty much probably a pretty moderate state for the most part.
I would say so, but the thing is, a lot of people think, and if you watch the news, you would think that people that voted for Obama and Trump cannot exist in the same universe, but that's simply not the case.
I mean, that's not the case at all. I know a lot of people who voted for Obama twice and voted for Trump.
Well, you're in a key swing state right there, where you had a jacked up governor's race, huh?
Well, I mean, it's funny because I thought Gillum was a good dude. I thought some of his policy ideas were a little far to the left of my taste personally. But a lot of it too. A lot of reasons why I had a lot of issue with DeSantis at the time was because he really didn't sell what he was trying to do. All he kept saying was, I'm a Trump guy. I'm basically, everything that Trump's doing, I'm gonna do the same thing also too. And he didn't really give any policy ideas. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, Andrew Gillum, at least from what I studied, I did the research myself. I don't have to depend on the news and depend on pundits and even advertising ads out, whether it's on the internet or it's on TV. I actually do the research, and at least Andrew Gillum was presenting ideas. Now, and again, granted, ideas that even I had issue with to some degree. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, too low for too left for my taste. But again, I did vote for him because I felt like I think I've calmed down with this now since then. But I had some resentment towards the Republican Party because me myself being a former Republican 10 years ago, you and I discussed it in the past already on this, on whatnot, and there was some resentment there. Because of the way they were acting, the cult of personality with Trump and whatnot. I gotta tell you though, Josh, we're a month in, and I gotta be honest with you. It's only a month in, but DeSantis is actually doing a pretty decent job. I must admit. Well, it's early, but some of the things he's doing, like the environmental awareness stuff now that Rick Scott failed on, who by the way, Rick Scott is also now the new senator, Republican senator for our state. He's actually overturning a lot of that stuff too. So he ended Common Core here also too in Florida. So DeSantis on the surface right now. I mean, like again, only month in, but so far I'm actually pretty impressed. I must admit.
So Florida, I'm a teacher also, right?
Yeah, I know.
I'm curious to hear about this.
Yeah.
So Florida did away with Common Core?
They're out of Common Core. Yeah, the one that they signed into. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. Which my wife, my wife, who's a big time liberal, is against Common Core. So she was very happy to hear that.
Well, what's going to replace it though?
That is the question. We don't know yet.
Oh, I see.
But
I see. Well, yeah, I got you.
Yeah,
I got you. I mean, every state has its own kind of brand of politics.
Right.
I'm sure you've heard about what's been going on in Virginia, right?
Yeah. And being. It's funny, because there's a lot of propaganda out there from the right about the law. I'm trying to. I don't want to harp on any side on that until I actually read why the law is what it is. Like apparently New York is doing the same thing too.
With what?
A similar law in terms of we say the abortion law. You talking about the
Well, actually, okay, we will talk about it. Yes, New York. I know there's a big hoo-ha about New York, how they kind of have enacted late-term abortions.
Right.
But I was actually more curious because Virginia, you have the governor who's in a blackface scandal and the attorney general, and then the lieutenant governor is involved in a sexual assault scandal.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that, and apparently he was on. I don't know if it's on record, but I saw a thing today in the Washington Post about like how he responded in a secret tape, whatever. F that bitch, who's accusing him of doing what he did.
The lieutenant governor. Well, yeah, she came out hard. She threw the hammer at him, being like, "I can't let him do that. I'm going to tell him all the details." But
I will say this.
Democratic Party.
But I will say this though: if she's lying about that, I would say far worse than he did. No offense. Sometimes we forget these people are humans too. I mean, I think that's the thing we kind of need to put into play here is that if he says "f that bitch," for example, and he knows he did anything wrong, that would kind of be I actually would probably say far worse than that. To be honest with you.
Okay.
If I was falsely accused, especially.
If you what?
If I was falsely accused, of course.
I got you. I mean, there's a whole litany of these candidates going down from the Me Too movement. So I don't know. That's really going to play out, and I almost feel like I don't know if this is punting, but I feel like as a white man in particular, I can't really. I feel like any side I take is a losing proposition.
I think the Kavanaugh thing really set a bad tone. This is why I was very critical of Democrats coming down on Kavanaugh to the way they did, because what they're doing is opening Pandora's box for anything to be in play now. Look, I'm not saying to not believe victims. You should believe victims, obviously, if they're telling the truth. Context just don't matter. Period. Evidence just don't matter.
Well, that reminds me of Chris Brown just got accused of sexual assault. Did it come out that actually is not
exactly
that woman was just a gold digger?
Exactly.
Like it wasn't.
But
true,
because of the past he has too, we automatically go to the worst case scenario. And there's a lot of racial things in that too. We won't go there. But it's one of those things where, again, the problem I have with Me Too, and I don't have a problem with Me Too necessarily. I think it's a very good thing in terms of awareness, and yes, people who do get hurt and who are victims should be heard from. But you don't eliminate, logical thinking. You don't eliminate conversation. You don't eliminate evidence and context. You don't want to just have groupthink. Just because every person says that they're a victim doesn't mean they're a victim. Everything should still be case by case, individual breakdown. Period. I don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose that, because there are people who get falsely accused of things that they didn't do.
Yeah, I mean, you do have a good point. I think part of, I know we're kind of going all over the place, but I think why the Democrats really directed that ire at Kavanaugh was because he was vulnerable enough for Democrats to aim their fire at the fact that the Republicans held up Barack Obama's Supreme Court nominee, Merrick Garland, for like 18 months?
No, I agree. And the Democrats might be pissed off about it, but there's one thing to have a political fire, have a political situation like that, and then destroy somebody's life because of political reasoning. These are lives that could be destroyed. Like, if Kavanaugh did what he did, obviously, then yeah, absolutely investigate it. You should. And yeah, by the way, if there are allegations, you should investigate it. Absolutely, that's what you should do. But here's the question. I'll be honest with you. I didn't follow the Kavanaugh thing tooth and nail. I followed it enough to know what's going on. And to me, I didn't see enough evidence to suggest that he did the things he did.
You might be right, but I still think he's a toolbox. He's really pissed Trump's ass a lot through the whole time.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, we got an opinion on that. There's a lot of people I don't like, but if they didn't do the things they did, I'm not going to sit there and accuse them of things I don't know. If I'm not clear if he did what he did, I don't want to. Again, Pandora's box. We start, because now what's going to happen now in the future when Democrats get control of whatever, the House and the Senate and the White House, and they have somebody who they want to put up. Republicans can do the same thing now too, and guess what? It's fair game because Democrats started first.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the whole blackface thing with the governor and attorney general, though? In particular, the governor. I haven't heard much about the attorney general. It's
weird. My problem with the governor isn't what he did, because I get it. I totally get people doing things and doing stupid things, even when they're in their late 20s or in 30s, whatever. It happened 30-something years ago. I get that. My problem with the governor right now is how he's handling it. If he did what he did, own up to it. Sit on the sword. Say he made a mistake and move forward. He's doubling down and saying, no, I didn't do this, I didn't do that, I was trying to imitate Michael Jackson, and I'm like, no, dude. Just admit what you did and move forward. And the story would die quickly.
I don't know if it would die that quickly, actually. I know he had a really weird, I didn't want to see the press conference, but my understanding was it was beyond bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
I think people sometimes forget that Virginia, I guess, has started to become a more, more reliably Democratic state. But this was a Confederate state.
Oh, no doubt.
I feel like we as Americans we don't really know our history that well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, you just kind of think about it. It's kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say,
what
if, and I'm not saying this is the case here, I tend to come from a very place of forgiveness, a lot of things, a place of compassion to some degree, as long as you're willing to learn, willing to, grow from a situation. Let's say he did do what he did, and which he did in '84, and let's say now let's say maybe he had racist feelings at one point years ago, and now today in 2019, he's generally not racist. Like he's genuinely not a bigot. Do we still hold him accountable for things he did 30-something years ago because it doesn't fit our worldview? Which now, for the record, racism is pretty fucking horrible. I'm just saying in general, the idea of holding things against people 30-something years ago, and now present day, they're not the same person. Is it still fair to use that?
So my understanding about you, and it's just following your podcast and just following, your platform. I know that you are, you kind of shun identity politics.
No, I despise it with a fucking passion. You know that. I made it quite clear.
Yeah. Yeah. There's
a lot of issues I'm conservative on. Like, for example, like a lot of my conservatism is mostly in the economy, but because I do believe in small government. But I do have a lot of progressive views, social views, too. Like, I used to be pro-life years ago. Now I'm pro-choice.
Yeah. So, let me throw an interesting fact. I was just sharing this with a friend before, and it still blows my mind. Mm-hmm. You know which demographic group was the most reliable voter for Hillary Clinton in 2016?
Black women?
Yes. Do you know what percentage it was?
Can I say 90%?
93 to 94%.
Okay,
different figures. I heard 93, but that's pretty. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's still pretty high. I feel like that's kind of almost hasn't really been looked at as closely. A lot of people, interpret it however they want to interpret it. So I'm just curious, how do you interpret that number?
I do think,
or that figure.
I do hold the opinion that black women in this country are probably the most disrespected sector of our entire country. That I agree with, 100%. 100%. Like even because they're even black men don't respect them. Even their own kind doesn't respect them to some degree. You know what I'm saying? They get shit from all sides of the fucking of the aisle.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point, because some people were saying that with Omarosa, how she turned against Trump, mm-hmm. that people still hate on her. Yeah. But as soon as Kanye turned on Trump on her, everyone's like, it's okay, Kanye. But it's kind of like it's the same thing. Like Omarosa did the same thing as what Kanye did, but somehow Kanye gets a pass, but Omarosa doesn't.
Right. I think even if you're a black conservative woman, I'm not a fan of Candace Owens necessarily. But she gets disrespected a lot by people because of she's black.
She does. I see that. I mean, she is kind of fascinating. She's sort of like the canary in the coal mine, it seems like.
Yeah. I don't agree with a lot of the things she says. I find Candace Owens, in my opinion, very divisive. Like, I don't have a problem with her being a Republican for record number one. I don't have a problem with her being, having her views. But I find the rhetoric within the views, her intent, to be divisive.
You know what was hilarious? I saw some kind of I don't remember when this was from. It was at least in the past few months, like around election time. But her and Charlie Kirk? Is that the guy's name?
Yeah.
They were getting blamed for Kanye leaving the Republican Party.
Well, you can argue they're the ones that kind of like influenced Kanye originally to be kind of pro-Trump for a little while. Where Turning Point USA, Charlie Kirk's the head of that. And Candace Owens, of course, is the communications director. And Candace Owens, for a little while, was the one sort of like, directing Kanye, was one kind of being like the sidekick, if you will, when he was doing that whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
But isn't that ironic? Now she's getting blamed for him leaving. It's like, wait, he would have never been a part of it. He would have never been such a big player in it.
That's what I'm saying. People like to point fingers at things they don't understand. I mean, again, I'm not saying I agree with her views in a lot of ways, but notice that the first thing they do is just blame her. That's the first attack the defense to go that route, and that bothers me.
You're absolutely right. But what's interesting about what you said from before, how you despise identity politics with a passion, some would argue that in a way you arguing saying that black women are the most disrespected group of people in America. And by the way, I agree with you. People say that's identity politics right there. That's what people would argue.
Oh, you can argue. Oh, but that's not. But that can't be identity politics if it's true. That's a truth, though. You know what I'm saying? I see for myself. I'm a black man. Now granted, I'm not married to a black woman though, but my mom's black. I've seen her get disrespected many times in the past. I have I have 2 black sisters. I've seen them get disrespected in the past.
I think my daughter's half black.
I know that.
Yeah, so I mean, I totally, I get where you're coming. I totally get where you're coming from. It reminds me. I was listening to what was it? I always love when Joe Rogan has Neil deGrasse Tyson on. I always find that a great interview. Mm-hmm. And Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying how there's like 3 different facts now. There's now or 3 different truths. There's like your alternative truth. There's your scientific truth and your made up truth. Like he was saying how there's new categories of truth now. So when you're talking about facts, it's like facts are so misconstrued now.
Yeah. It's it's crazy. It's really crazy. And that's the problem too. Also, and people look to the media, to whatever side they're on. They look to their side of the media. So if you're a liberal, you rely on MSNBC, maybe even CNN. If you're a conservative, Fox News and whatever they provide on the right hand side, and you want justification and kind of a acknowledgement in a way where okay, I agree, and okay, good. I can now feel better about this because they said it to themselves. And I hate that. I can't stand. I'm a free thinking kind of dude, man. I don't like the idea of the media telling you what to do. I mean, the media, to be honest with you, is complicit in a lot of this shit where we're at now as a country.
You're right. I mean, you can look at it in different ways. I mean, I guess we can pivot a little bit to sports, but it was interesting. I always like Colin Cowherd. I like listening to in particular after a big event happened. Mm-hmm. And Colin Cowherd on his show the other day, I don't know if you heard it, he was saying how it's interesting how Sean McVay, the head coach of the Rams, is getting a huge pass for being badly outcoached by Belichick. But last year, when Belichick benched Malcolm Butler and they lost the game, everybody was laying into Belichick how he was so bad, but no one talked about how Butler played terrible the 2 prior playoff games and that he was coming late to practice and Belichick made the executive decision to bench him. That everybody wanted to draw blood on Belichick and McVay, like no one's laid a glove on him. I mean, one thing I don't think Cowherd did, and of course he likes to be a provocateur, was that the one thing, and Bill Simmons mentions the most, is that how many LA Rams fans are there now anyway? I mean, if this was like the Bears in the Super Bowl playing the Patriots, oh my God, like you would not hear the end of it about how badly outcoached Sean McVay was.
Yeah. Yeah, he did get outcoached though, we'll say that. I mean, Jared Goff didn't. I mean, Jared Goff did not look like he looked like a deer in headlights, though. Let's be real.
I mean, so people are saying that was the worst Super Bowl they ever remember, and it makes me think either these people have short memories or they haven't been following football that long.
Did you not watch Denver and Seattle like 4 years ago? Are you out of your fucking mind? I mean, seriously?
Well, at least that was a dominant performance by one team. But I'm even going back. The first Super Bowl I watched was the Washington Redskins versus the Bills, and the Redskins just spanked the Bills. And then the next 2 years, we had those train wrecks of the Bills losing
Cowboys,
again
Bills.
badly to the Cowboys. Ugh. Yes.
Depressing.
So, I mean, I remember the 90s had a lot of bad Super Bowls.
Yeah, I know bad Super Bowls. I've seen bad Super Bowls. The one we just had 3 days ago wasn't bad. Like, it was a close game. People say it was boring because there was no scoring. I mean, again, but I think most of the people who say that are casual football fans who don't watch week to week, but they check in the playoffs and by the Super Bowl they're in, and they want to be entertained. The brick and mortar NFL fan like myself, I'm a little more into the defensive game too. I can appreciate this kind of game because the defense is doing its job.
Sure. Well, they said they summed it up like the Patriots played the game the way Floyd Mayweather boxes now.
Yeah. And look, there was still drama in the game because as great as the Pats played in the first half, they only had a 3-0 lead at halftime. I mean, I had Pats friends of mine texted me at halftime saying they were worried because they couldn't play a better half, the Rams couldn't play a worse half, and yet we're only up 3-0.
I mean, well, Wade Phillips had a great defensive plan,
Absolutely.
But I mean, it's funny you say the casual fans. I did actually. I got into the game a little bit late, and I was amazed when the Patriots were pinned back, and I'm like, how many minutes left in the first quarter? I'm like, holy cow, these guys already punted the ball a couple times.
Mm-hmm.
You watch the first half. The halftime show, I was whack. And then I missed the first part of the third
that
quarter.
was terrible.
Like, no,
that was a horrible. I mean, look, I actually like Maroon 5's first 2 albums, but beyond that, oh my god, ugh, terrible.
But what people are saying, like, this is a big anniversary for the NFL. What anniversary is it for? I don't even know what anniversary is for the NFL. And they're in Atlanta. It's a soul city. Like, why didn't they have like some kind of blues band or something?
They had like Travis Scott, whoever he is. They had Big Boy come out.
Yeah.
Last night, I thought Last Night killed it though. Last night really did a great job with the anthem.
Well, anyway, to me, I've definitely shifted a little bit more to being a casual football fan. Ever since my daughter was born and gotten older, I've watched less and less football. So, like, the only game the past couple of years that I watch from first quarter to end is the Super Bowl. And I know you do a lot of football stuff, so I almost feel dumb asking you this. But who is your football team?
You know my football team.
Is it the Dolphins or it's the Giants, right?
Come on now. My oldest son's name's Eli.
I know, okay. I'm thinking to myself, you know what? The Giants have just been so bad for so long now. That's right. It's the Giants. When's the last time the Giants were good?
This was the best. This was the best season, though. I will say. I mean, I know you admitted you didn't watch much this year, but this was probably one of the best years we've had in a very long time.
No, I know Mahomes. I mean, I was still following it, like, watching the highlights, whatever. I know Mahomes killed it.
Was it the casual thing? Was that on purpose, or the schedule? What was it?
With what?
Why did you shift to more casual? Was it because of the schedule, or was it because part of it is actually, I would say I've watched less football since I've been co-parenting, because I have my daughter on the weekends, and it's really like all about her time. Like when me and her mother were still together and we're there every day, it's like I was able to kind of sneak in football like on a Sunday a little bit more. She'd watch it with me and be okay with it. But now it's kind of like, no, Daddy, let's have some fun. I don't want to watch this, or let me watch what I want to watch. And like football just falls way on the back burner. And I mean, sometimes I'm just mad tired for a Sunday night football game. I mean, I do catch a little bit of it. I mean, I follow the storylines and stuff, but I could say that I really am not plugged into football until like Thanksgiving time. I will say this though, even as guys as hardcore as I am, I can't do the whole day like I used to. Like I don't like with Sunday football, for example. Sunday football, I tend, if the game isn't interesting or the Giants aren't on, I don't watch it. The best time for me to watch football is 1 o'clock on Red Zone, and 4 o'clock games tend to be shitty, so I tend to check in and out. So what I do is I balance it out. I tend to check in and out at 4 o'clock. The 1 o'clock, my peak football time of the week every week is 1 to 4.
Look at that, huh?
So I try to balance it out.
That's right. You are a Giant. I don't know. Forgive me for forgetting that you were a Giants fan. So the Giants haven't done anything for since they won the Super Bowl. They had one decent year.
One playoff appearance.
Where they've made the playoffs.
2 winning records, 1 playoff appearance. Yeah.
I mean, so they've really underwhelmed big time. I mean, New York sports in general, and also you're confusing. I mean, you're a New York transplant living in Florida. So you're a Giants fan and a Miami Heat fan.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
Yeah.
Like you're banning the Knicks, huh?
Well, I was never a Knicks fan.
Never?
Never. The only time I rooted for the Knicks when they played the Bulls against Jordan, because I hated the Bulls as a kid. I loved Ewing. That's why. I loved Ewing. So I root for Ewing more than anything else to get a ring.
Oh.
So in the 90s, when the Knicks were in the playoffs and Bell and the Bulls and the Rockets and all that, I root for the Knicks to win a title because I wanted Ewing to get a ring. But I was never a Knicks fan, just to be clear. You know what I'm saying? The Heat were my team, was still my team back then, too. But the Heat never made the playoffs, so I didn't. They weren't challenging Knicks until.
The Heat were your team back then too?
Oh yeah, Glenn Rice, 1989.
How about Baby Jordan?
Baby Jordan, Harold Miner. Yes, right. Yeah.
Yeah. People say his career was ruined because he looked too much like Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
that if he didn't have those comparisons,
his game wasn't polished enough. That's why he was too much of an ISO player. That's all. Nice guy though, very nice guy, but he was too much an ISO player.
Going back to the old schools, you were a Heat fan since '89.
Let me guess, you're a Knicks fan, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's hard. It's really, really hard to be a Knicks fan. I was listening to the Bill Simmons podcast with his like young Ringer staff members, and they're crying about Porzingis being traded, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, you guys are like, even though I know you are like sports bloggers for a profession and like follow this closely, I'm like, you guys don't know anything. Like you don't remember. Like you didn't see the '90s Knicks with Ewing when they always came so close. I mean, I remember those '90s Knicks. They were like the Red Sox of basketball at the time, before the Red Sox like ran off all these World Series. And they were always so close, and they didn't do it. But they were like homegrown and awesome. Like Porzingis got traded. Like I don't care. Like I really don't give a rip that Porzingis got traded.
When you say you don't give a rip, though,
is
it because that you don't think he's good enough to be the guy going forward, or do you think that? I mean, you didn't. I mean, I'm a little confused there. Like you were okay him getting traded?
I mean, think about it. If he was really that transcendent of a player, well, for one thing, like they were like before he got injured last year, they were like barely on the bubble making the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? The 1 year where he had his trial to see, okay, is this your breakout year? Are you really going to lead this team to the playoffs? He didn't last. But the thing is, even if he did make the full 82 games, I still don't think they were going to make the playoffs. And the East is trash. So if you're the star and you're the one that's going to lead the Knicks to the promised land, like, that's pretty pathetic that you can't even lead a team in the Eastern Conference where all the teams are weak into the playoffs. Like, come on.
I just got a little alert from my phone that apparently Anthony Davis likes the Knicks as much as the Lakers. So,
well, I don't know how the Knicks are going to be able to trade for him now. I mean, I guess that's the one thing. But the other thing is too, though, is that Porzingis is tall. He's like 7'4". Like these players that are over like 7'2", like they don't have long careers. The only person that was taller than 7'2" that had a freakishly long career was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Bill Simmons would say it's because he's an alien.
Yeah. It's funny. I defended the trade though last week on this podcast because I said that the reason why is, first off, if you know that guy doesn't want to be there, let him go. Let him go. You don't need that distraction on your team. Get cap room, which they do have. They can sign 2 maxes this summer. They're really fucking bad this year, which means now they can probably get Zion as well too if they play the cards right. If they get the number 1 pick, It does, but what's really fascinating, as a guy who's been watching basketball for 30 years now, what's so fascinating now is the fact that the Knicks, for a large part, 20 years, other than a few bright seasons, 2012 and a couple decent years, they have been relatively awful for most of 20 years, and I can't even imagine a big market team as the Knicks, who by the way, today, Forbes put the yearly worth of teams in the league, and they are still the wealthiest team in the NBA at $4 billion, and yet they still suck. And it's not like they're cheap. They do spend money. The problem is that team who are the front office, they don't know how to scout properly.
Man, I don't know. Phil Jackson said they were cursed, and they stink out on him too.
It could be.
The whole value of the Knicks, that's all real estate, though, because Madison Square Garden is like right in Midtown Manhattan. I mean, yeah, the Lakers are highly valued, but LA is so sprawled out and stuff. There's no central place in Los Angeles.
Right.
That's the kind of is what hurts the Lakers, because you would think the Lakers would probably be number 1, but
it'd be
real estate.
It's funny though. The thing is that it'd be one thing the Knicks were mediocre. If they're a playoff team but they can't get over the hump, I can live with that. It is what it is. They haven't had a transcendent player since Ewing. You know what I mean? But to be horrible, to be on the bottom of the East every year, no.
I honestly, I guess what really kind of soured me on the Knicks a great deal was that it was actually because they traded Ewing. Ewing's last year on the Knicks was what, 2001?
Yeah, 2000.
2000? Really? His last
year? Might have been 99, actually.
No, I think because 99 was the year he got injured in the playoffs and they made it to the finals. It was a 50-game season.
Yep.
And then 2000, they lost to the Pacers. Pacers made the finals. And I feel like Van Gundy had one more year with them, 01.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he got traded in 01. I think he got traded in 01 because people were down on him. But anyway, once Van Gundy was done, they went into like this little dark ages and stuff where it was kind of like Stephon Marbury or some of these other guys. There was 1 year they made the playoffs and they lost in 5 games to the Nets when Jason Kidd was at the helm.
Like
it was just a weird playoff team.
Like 04, 05?
05. I think it might have been. It was before Larry Brown. Anyway, they were just bad, but it was comically bad because people would literally fans would come to the stadium just to boo Isaiah Thomas as a coach.
Weird.
And this is before, like, the internet fully took off, and I just remember always reading my mom's Newsday newspaper, and I was always reading the Knicks columns and stuff, so I was keeping up with it like that. And then, I don't even remember what happened. It was just bad. I mean, then I guess there was, I don't remember D'Antoni's first year, because I was in the Peace Corps from 2008 to 2010, but my first year back with the Peace Corps, that Knicks team that had Amari Stoudemire as the epicenter, I loved that team. Not even just Amari Stoudemire, but you had Danilo Gallinari, you had Wilson Chandler.
The 2010, 2011 team.
Yeah, you had Mozgov. Like, they were a likable team. Like, they were only going to be like a 6 or 7 seed, but they were such a likable bunch. D'Antoni said he liked coaching them.
Not only that, but that year, too, also, that first half of that year,
first half of the
Amari
season,
Stoudemire was an MVP candidate.
He was. And then what do? They let Melo force a trade when Melo's going to be a free agent, and they get rid of all their assets. And they were still a 6 or 7 seed. They didn't improve at all. And then I guess that next year they had a mini renaissance because they had Rasheed Wallace on the team for a little bit, and Marcus Camby, and Jason Kidd was good all the way up until the playoffs. They had that Was it that? No. The next year was the Jeremy Lin year, which was a weird year altogether.
That's right.
And D'Antoni got driven out. And then it was the following year they had the really mini renaissance. And then they haven't done shit since then. Nope. But I really was kind of turned off once Melo forced his way there, and I'm like, this ain't my team anymore.
If he could have waited till free agency, they could have got him they could have kept the team together. They have to trade Gallinari. There might have been a conference finals in the year after that. Because other than Miami, that team it was wide open. Indiana wasn't all that great. I mean, Indiana made the conference finals a couple of years, but they weren't all that good. Chicago, Derrick Rose at that point, Derrick Rose was going through his injuries, so. There wasn't another team in the conference challenging, the Heat. The Celtics are already on the way out because they were getting older. So the Knicks blew their load there. And it's why Donnie Walsh left. Because Donnie Walsh, got over, he's the one that did not want Melo to come immediately like that. And I guess Dolan panicked.
Because they were worried that Melo was going to go to the Nets.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that just kind of left a sour taste. So anyway, the long and short of it, and Colin Cowherd actually said this recently too, that nobody loves you like the team that drafts you. I would be so happy if the Knicks get Zion Williamson. I would be all in. I wouldn't even care if they don't even get Max.
You're crazy though, because
Zion Williamson.
As big a Heat fan as I am, and I'm a diehard, I wouldn't mind the Knicks being good because I think it'd be good for the league. I think the Knicks being bad is just to me, it's just okay enough already. Can at least be a playoff team, at least be a 7 or 8 seed every year, so at least be competitive to the point where we can at least respect you now. I mean, it's just bad.
But it makes. I want to finish this Knicks thought, but then I want to pivot to the Lakers because it's funny because you're saying you want to see the Knicks do well because I feel like a lot of people want to see the Lakers do bad. I'm going to hold that for a second. But with the Knicks, I really don't care if Kevin Durant or Kyrie come. I don't.
Why is that?
I don't really. I don't think much of Kyrie. I think Kyrie is really a weird guy.
Oh,
he forced his way out of Cleveland.
He's a flake.
Yeah, that's a way to put it. I mean, he forced his way out of Cleveland when really it would have been cool to see a rematch of the finals from 2017. Because even though it was a 5-game series, there was a chance that series could have gone longer. And the 2018, so we got cheated out of another good finals 2018. Because aside from Game 1, the 2018 finals was a joke. And just how he is with the Celtics, he's not a leader, and what kind of turned me off from him actually was when he said the world was flat, and then he got grilled All-Star Weekend about that question, and he was like so pompous about it. He's like, "How dare you ask me that question?" It's like you're the freaking moron that said that dumb shit. Like you think that people aren't going to come and ask you about that, and you're acting like people like how dare they pick on you for that? It's like, well, don't say stupid stuff, and then you won't get these questions. So yeah, I mean that. And then with Kevin Durant, I used to love Kevin Durant, but you went to a 73-win team. You went to a 73-win team. And you're unhappy there because that's Steph Curry's team. That's never your team. It will never be your team. I can't wait till you leave. I can't wait till the Warriors, just the dynasty of the Warriors, is done. Can't wait. I rewrote a blog post was like, the dynasties part 2, and I was saying out of all the Warriors championships, the truth is the one that I find most impressive was the 2015 one. Even though Kyrie Irving missed most of that series, Kevin Love wasn't in that series, but that was at least legit, Like, that was actually your homegrown team. I mean, now you're just buying championships, And I did say that if they win the title this year, okay, I'll give them credit because 3-peat is hard to do, and 4 and 5 years because they're tired, they're attrition. But the 2017 and 2018 championships, I mean, even though they almost lost to the Rockets, I don't give it that much credit. Like the 3 titles that Steph Curry and Draymond and Clay have aren't worth as much as the 3 titles that LeBron has. They just aren't.
In other words, you think the pre-Durant stuff is a lot more valuable than the Durant titles.
Absolutely. So I don't care. I don't want to see Durant on the. I mean, whatever. Okay, I guess I'll be happy for. But I won't feel like that's my team. It just feels like it's a more glorified Melo.
At this point, he'd be the best player you've had probably in franchise history.
You know what? I'd be happier with Kawhi Leonard and Kemba Walker and getting Zion. I think that would be dope. Let me have these guys that are a little bit more low key.
You can't be.
I'd rather have a more low key guy
in New York, though. This is New York. I mean, Kevin Durant.
They'll be over.
To be fair, Kevin Durant is kind of low key though for a guy of his stature. He's kind of low key actually though for a guy of his stature.
Who?
Kevin Durant's kind of low key.
No, he's way too tall for that, man. Don't you see how goofy looking he looks?
No, I'm talking about the just him being his personality. He's not like in every little thing. He's not like LeBron. LeBron is not the pass. He's not passive aggressive like LeBron is. That's
true. LeBron, I sat on LeBron because he's trying to push out Luke Walton. That whole team is turned on Luke Walton. Luke Walton's a good coach.
Yeah,
but that's my question.
I'm not feeling LeBron in LA. I made that quite clear for the last 3-4 months now. I'm not feeling it. I'm not even remotely interested in LeBron in LA. I don't even watch Laker games as a result. I don't find them watchable with LeBron. I found the Lakers with the young kids more watchable than with LeBron. LeBron takes things away. And I'm not saying as a guy who hates LeBron. I love LeBron James. I'm just saying that you had a team that was organically coming together as a young unit. I was looking forward to seeing that. LeBron fucks that up immediately.
I mean, it's LeBron. I mean, the thing is, you could say Melo messed up the Knicks, but still, it's LeBron.
But Melo wasn't coming into a situation like that where he was coming with young players. That Knicks team that went to the playoffs and won, and that the last good Knicks team was 2012. That was a veteran team. That was Jason Kidd and fucking Rasheed Wallace. That's an old ass team.
Yeah, you're right. Like you're saying, you want to see the Knicks do well. It seems like teams are colluding to avoid the Lakers doing well. They're literally cock-blocking Anthony Davis going to the Lakers.
I'm hearing that Greg Popovich is telling Dell Demps not to make a deal with the Lakers, and there's a lot of resentment towards the Lakers. There's no doubt about that. And to be honest with you, when you consider the past and how things are done, I don't blame them to some degree, but you can't do that, bro. I mean, it is what it is.
You can't do what?
It's bad faith to tell fucking Dell Demps not to trade Anthony Davis to the Lakers, after the Lakers are offering you pretty much the entire farm for one player.
I mean, I do like Anthony. If Anthony Davis came to the Knicks, I'd be cool with that. I like it. Even though I don't like how he's handled the trade thing, I still think he's a good dude.
How do you handle it? There's no way to handle it. You just request a trade.
I'm just saying, though. The long and short is, I don't think Durant knows who the heck he is, and I don't care for him to be in New York. I don't think he needs that kind of spotlight, whatever.
I can roll with that. Like Kevin Durant has a personality issue. Anthony Davis just requested a trade. He doesn't want to be there anymore. I don't blame him. The Pelicans, to be quite honest with you, the Pelicans shouldn't even be in New Orleans to begin with anyway. They don't sell tickets. They got a top 3 player in the league, and no one gives a fuck.
You're right. They are probably they're probably the first team that probably should move.
How
Seattle
is
should be
it
getting a
fair?
team.
How is it fair to Davis to care if the fans don't care? They don't care.
You're right. I mean, it's weird. I mean, I've been to New Orleans once. New Orleans is a dope city. You wouldn't think that city is a city that would support a basketball team.
It's a football town, dude. It's a Saints LSU town, man.
You're right. Going back to the Super Bowl.
Wait. Prediction, real quick. I'm on record saying this already. They will be the first. They will be the team that goes to Seattle. You watch.
What the hell is the name going to be then? The Pelicans is the state bird of Louisiana.
Yeah, you call them the Seattle Sonics again. You buy
I don't know.
history.
I think there'll be expansion. Actually, there's going to be. I think there's going to be NBA expansion soon. Vancouver needs a team back.
You may not have to though. If you can move that team out of that city and not about adding a 31st team, no, you just move it to Seattle. You call it a day. Because they lose Davis, they're done. They're not going to be even a franchise worth even looking at.
Well, anyway, you expand. You add two teams. You put the Seattle Sonics
it's already,
you get a Vancouver team.
It's already watered down, dude. 30's enough. 30's enough. It's already watered down enough as it is anyway.
Well, they're talking about going to Europe, though, having a team in London. But Stern was talking about for years, having a team in London and Paris.
Makes more sense, though, for the NBA to do it because the NBA is popular in those countries. Even though I'm against it, too. It's called the National Basketball Association. I want to sound like a nationalist here, but it is the National Basketball Association, just for the record.
Well, did you realize that your home city in Miami, the flight from Miami to Seattle is longer than from New York to London?
I know that.
It's crazy.
I know it's insane.
I know it's a big country. But anyway, yeah. So the long and short is Kevin. I don't care. I don't need Kevin Durant in New York. Give me Kawhi. I'd rather have Kawhi because at least Kawhi knows who he is, even though he's awkward. I don't want Kyrie. I want Zion. I want the homegrown guy.
You mentioned
Kemba Walker. Give me him.
You mentioned dynasties though earlier, and you actually wrote a piece on your blog. Can I argue the Pats?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Can I argue the Pats are probably the greatest dynasty probably in sports, considering the context with it? I can argue that right now. Not just the.
So you read it? You read it, huh?
I read most of it. Yes. I argue best dynasty in sports, considering the context.
What is it? What do you say is the best dynasty in sports, considering the context?
The Pats, because it's not.
Of course,
that
goes without saying now.
Yeah, it's not about the rings for me. It means about the details. It's about it's the maintaining a level of success for 18, 19 years now. If they're not winning titles, they're in the conversation every year, and every year they get knocked on the top four every year. Some teams, they win a title, drop off a couple of years, come back. Drop a couple of years, come back. The Pats don't drop off that far. The Pats drop off what? The conference championship? Really?
Yeah. You're right.
Hate to admit it, but they're probably best dynasty in all sports, in my opinion.
Did you know that Tom Brady is this really true? Tom Brady is the only football player ever to win 6 championships?
That is correct. Charles Haley had 5. He's not at 6.
That is incredible to me.
Especially in a league that's not... You're not supposed to do this in today's NFL because of the parity involved in it, because of free agency involved. It's not like the Pats are fucking getting top-level players every year. They don't. They're out-scheming everybody. They're smart. Dude, the Pats are doing this on brain power. Bill Belichick's an Urkel. I had Leonard Marshall on my old radio show a couple years ago when the week before the Super Bowl against Seattle in 2015 rather, and he said that because Belichick coached him in the Giants, and he said on the show that Belichick is a football Urkel. The guy knows everything, every little detail.
What about Brady though?
What about him?
Okay, he's the greatest quarterback ever.
That's old news. I was saying that when he had 3 rings.
Would you say Brady is like the new GOAT of American sports? Has he surpassed Jordan?
I wouldn't go that far because the thing is, football does not allow you to be that kind of player because outside of this country, no one knows who the hell Tom Brady is unless you're actually watching football. Like Michael Jordan.
Well, they know he's married to Giselle.
Well, but again, it takes Giselle's presence to make. I mean, again, he's the second most popular person in his house.
I mean, internationally, in America, obviously, he's number one.
I wouldn't be so sure about that either. Giselle's pretty popular in the States, too.
Really?
Maybe not now. She's not very active as she used to be. But at one point, she was.
I guess it all depends what you follow closely. It reminds me. It's like the circle of people you interact with. You assume everybody kind of knows that. Like I was once talking to a second cousin, and he was telling me this crazy story about Tracy McGrady, and I said, "That's a great story. That's really cool." But like Tracy McGrady really isn't like that famous, like in the context of like being an icon. He's like, "No, he really is," and I'm like. Thinking to myself, I'm like, clearly all the people you talk to are big basketball fans.
My
a lot
wife,
of people that don't know anything about basketball.
My wife does not know who Tracy McGrady is. Okay, and she doesn't know
who what?
Tracy
McGrady is.
Yeah. No, he's popular.
Clearly, she must. Well, were you guys married when Tracy McGrady was still in the league?
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the same guy though, of course, but yeah.
There you go. Maybe if he was a star and this is the litmus test. I'm gonna have to come up with a new player because people are gonna forget about Tim Duncan because he's so quiet. But my litmus test is when people tell me I don't really follow basketball that closely, but I know a little bit, and they think they don't know a lot. I'm like, well, do you know who Tim Duncan is? And they're like, yeah, I know who Tim Duncan is. I'm like, okay, you know more about basketball than like the overwhelming majority of Americans know who Tim Duncan is. That's kind of like my litmus test. Because like some people think because they don't follow basketball that close, they don't know much. But the thing about it, the NBA Finals, since it's been the Warriors Caps, they've been drawing like 21 million households, which is tremendous. And it's like been the biggest finals output since Michael Jordan's Bulls. But 21 million is a lot. But think of how many millions watch the Super Bowl, and think of how many millions of people live in the United States. Like that's only like a piece of the pie. Like, football is like the whole pie.
Yeah, football in America is humongous. Tom Brady definitely in the States, definitely, in that conversation. Like, I already said it a couple weeks ago. Like, Tom Brady's already in the Mount Rushmore of all-time greatest American sports athletes. Him, Jordan, Ali, Brady. Now, to compare him to Jordan, if we're talking about impact on their sport, I still say Jordan because Jordan's impact goes farther beyond just on the court, off the court. His influence in terms of branding, whatnot. But again, it's also unfair to Brady because football does not allow you those kind of avenues that basketball would otherwise or boxing would otherwise. Even to some degree, hockey when Gretzky was playing. You know what I'm saying? So I think with Tom Brady, the fact he's even in the conversation. Speaks volumes because he had to stack the deck just to get into the conversation, like 6 rings and I think 3 or 4 MVPs and all that, But in terms of impact to the totality of sports in and outside the field or in the ring or whatever on the court, Jordan is not even close as Michael Jordan, but people know who Michael Jordan is to this day. His shoes still sell more than players today. He hasn't played basketball in over 15 years. So it's not even close. But that's not a knock on Brady because the sport he plays in does not really allow you to be in. It does not promote individualism in the same way that basketball does, or obviously boxing does. You know what I'm saying?
You're right. Did you when we talk about boxing? Did you hear Teddy Atlas on Joe Rogan?
No, I did not. I need to hear that one. I'm so behind. Like I went through. It's funny when I love Joe Rogan's podcast, but unless it's a guest I really, truly am invested into. Like, okay, so he did have a little run 2 weeks ago of 3 guests who I'm really into that I listened to the entire podcast. He had on Mike Tyson, Killer Mike, and Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss is a New York Times.
You heard him with Killer Mike?
Yeah, of course I did. Yeah, it was great.
That's on the top of my queue. I got to listen to that one. I haven't heard that one yet. You don't got to give anything away, but yeah, that's the one I want to listen to.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Mike Tyson one, I was underwhelmed by that one.
Okay. Why?
You know what? I mean, it was all right, but it's just kind of like, how do I put it? Just, Joe Rogan even analyzed afterwards, saying how he kind of had to pull the conversation along, but he was just so in awe of like speaking to Mike Tyson, and maybe that's kind of like a childhood hero kind of thing.
Wait. Which episode? Which episode we let down by the Mike Tyson one or the Killer Mike one?
Mike Tyson. I haven't heard the Killer Mike one yet. I told you that. I gotta listen to the Killer Mike one. The Mike Tyson one I was underwhelmed by.
This one was okay. It was not all that great, but I mean, it was okay.
Oh, okay. That's you're putting me on the spot to defend my analysis of the Mike Tyson one, and I'm just like, it wasn't really, you know.
No. I actually agree with you. It was okay. It wasn't all that great.
No. The Killer Mike one I want to listen to. Another one I want to listen to is my buddy reminded me of this because I totally forgot. Is Tulsi Gabbard. The crazy congresswoman from Hawaii. I should call her crazy.
Yeah.
But still,
when did she go on?
The reading stuff on her.
When did she go on?
I told you. This was the piece I put a lot of time in. I wrote the piece. The next female president of the United States will be Alexandria Ocasio. I don't remember last name. I just call her AOC.
Cortez.
Actually, I knew it was Cortez. I totally forgot. And I mentioned Tulsi Gabbard in there and stuff because honestly, I'm not saying this to be sexy. I just don't foresee a female president in the immediate future for the United States. Hillary Clinton had a great shot at it, and she came up. She came up short. You could say the Russian investigation had an influence on her, but her negatives are super duper high. And I have a class of seniors, this U.S. history class, a small class that have to do U.S. history regents, and I asked them. I said, because we're going over the test, the electoral college. I said, who did Donald Trump beat for the presidency? And a couple of my students have immigrated from Latin American countries, so they don't really know a lot about American politics. But then a few others, you would think that they would know. And one of the students just summed it up so bad. She's like, Donald Trump, he beat. She's like, I don't remember. It was some old lady though, right?
Oh man.
And I'm like, exactly. That's the problem. I mean, but that kind of goes back to the sexism in our country. Obviously we talked about it before. You full circle, like black women obviously have it the worst. But still, like this senior didn't remember who Hillary's name was, and it's kind of like, yeah, that was the problem. Some old lady. I'm like, well, Donald Trump's some old man, but white males hold a special place in American society for better and for worse.
I just found it, by the way. It's on it's from September 10th, actually. Tulsi Gabbard.
What is?
Tulsi Gabbard.
So I want to listen to that. I'm curious about that. David Duke came out and kind of gave her a nod to her being she's going to be the first president to not be beholden to Israel. And I'm just like, what the heck? David Duke. It's never a good thing to be spoken on positively by the KKK leader, no matter what.
No. Oh, of course, I agree. I obviously know of her. I know of her, but I don't really know in detail. Actually, the Barry Weiss episode I just told you about that came on 2 weeks ago. The New York Times writer.
Barry Weiss? I thought you said Barry White at first, the singer.
Barry White died.
Is Barry White even alive?
Barry White died. Barry White died in 2003, dude. We talking about
2003?
No,
oh, man, it's like
Barry Weiss. Barry Weiss is the New York Times.
Tell me about
writer.
Barry Weiss again. I see his name pop up all the time.
No, her. It's a she. She's a New York Times writer. And one of the big topics on the show was Tulsi Gabbard. So you probably would want to listen to that episode now too, especially because there's a lot of things that came in that episode. That a lot of blowback on that episode since then. So.
Yeah, no, I'm curious about Killer Mike, Tulsi Gabbard, and Barry Weiss. Yeah, he churns out so much good stuff. Sometimes I'll just run the YouTube channel, and just for background, and carry a little bit of things. I was listening to him, watching him interview the drummer for Blink-182, and I totally forgot. You remember the drummer?
That dropped today, I think. Didn't it? Today or yesterday? One of the two.
Yeah, it might have been today, but it wasn't live. It wasn't streamed live. I was just watching. It just popped up, and he was talking about surviving that plane crash, and I'm like, oh my god, I totally forgot about that. Just to live to tell a story about surviving a plane crash, WTF, man.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. What was on to say? Yeah, so what Rogan, what I'll do, people listen to this podcast probably say, yeah, you say this all the time because you always explain your Joe Rogan not fascination, but my Joe Rogan schedule, how I run it. So if it's a person, a guest, I'm very interested in listening to an entire conversation. I'll listen to the podcast. if it's somebody I don't know who they are, don't really care to their stuff, what I'll do is that, obviously I have the GRE clips on YouTube, like the clips of the conversation pieces from the conversations, talking points. I'll go there and see if there's anything interesting on the individual clip site, on this clips YouTube page. So, which by the way,
that makes you,
huh?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
What?
No, go ahead.
No, I was saying, do you ever like watch those clips and you're like, wow, I want to listen to this whole interview now?
Sometimes.
Sometimes it's hard. He doesn't make it easy for you to identify these guests, though, because it just says JRE clips. It doesn't tell you who the guest is. He should really improve upon that. That would really help a lot. But,
I emailed him.
Kind of a high-class problem.
I asked, I don't know if I emailed him or whatever, but I said one time that he should take that clip slide and make it a separate podcast feed. That way, if you don't want to listen to the entire podcast, you at least have another podcast feed dedicated to the clips.
Kind of like Colin Cowherd's Best of the Herd podcast, huh?
Yeah, but the best of right, but separate it to a different feed though. Don't clutter it with the main guest.
Anyway, I have a couple other thoughts on Joe Rogan, but the Teddy Atlas. The reason why I was tipped off to the Teddy Atlas interview was because it was the GRE clips on YouTube, and he was talking about Mike Tyson. There was a 30-minute clip on how he thought Mike Tyson honestly only had 3 real boxing matches. He's 0-3. I was just like, wow, this is fascinating. The reason why I think, I don't know if it's overlooked by you, but I can see it being overlooked by other people because I overlooked this, is that because the interview was set exclusively under JRE MMA fights. And I usually ignore those. And I thought that was a mistake for that one because that should have been in the main feed. Because that was, honestly, that might have been the best interview I ever heard Joe Rogan give. Fascinating. Really fascinating.
Yeah, I do like MMA though, for the record, but I don't need to listen to because my podcast listening now is gotten so bad now to the point I had to delete some stuff. Like it's too much at times. There's too much content. So one
it really is.
No, so one of the things I did recently was delete. I stopped listening to like a lot of the because there's a lot of radio daily sports talk radio I listen to like on podcasts that I'll listen to every day. But now I'm getting kind of bored of it now. Like now I'm like, oh, it's too much now. One is, whatever. So I deleted some even some ones I do like a lot. Like for On the Bench, I deleted off my feed because it's too much. I deleted.
Did you delete Cowherd?
No, I'll keep Cowherd. But I'll be honest, yeah, I've been hot and cold with Cowherd in terms of like listening to his show every day. That's all.
You've been what?
No, I get hot and cold with listening to the show every day. What I'll do is I'll listen to a show. Depending if I feel okay, listen to the show. I'll listen to it. If I don't, I don't. That's it.
Yeah, I got you. Sometimes I'll just watch his clips too. I'm totally with you on that. Yeah, I mean there is too much content.
You know what it is also too for me. I got into audiobooks recently too. Finally, after like years and years, I actually like audiobooks now. So I started buying audio. I have an Audible subscription now, so I started getting audiobooks to listen to. So I rather put my time in like either long form podcasts or audiobooks.
Tim Ferriss always talking about the Graveyard Book being a great audiobook.
You still on Tim Ferriss, buddy?
You know what's funny about that? Not nearly as much as I was. You and Matthew McQueen, shout out to Matthew McQueen, you guys actually really got me into Joe Rogan. And another buddy of mine that's a huge podcast fan too. The three of you guys really kind of turned me on to Joe Rogan because I was always giving a shot. I would listen to kind of random political ones when he interviewed a libertarian candidate or different kind of people, and I've gotten more and more into Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan really kind of, I would say, kind of replaced Tim Ferriss on the banner of like your long form podcast interview that's kind of outside of sports and politics, even though he kind of intertwines a lot of that stuff, but still. Tim Ferriss, he still produces some good stuff, but Tim Ferriss is kind of his podcast is more science, and Joe Rogan, like the science of the podcast, how he's so methodical with it, and Joe Rogan is more like art with it. That's how it compares.
No, right, you're correct. Like okay, so Tim, I respect Tim Ferriss a lot, but again, he's another one I had to cut off the feed because I don't listen to him enough to keep him on my thing to clutter up my podcast library. So I subscribe to him, unfortunately. Because again, a lot of it is science. I'm not really heavily into science. Joe Rogan's into the things I'm into. Like, he's into sports, he's into politics, into pop culture, this and that, whatever. His guests he has on there is more my liking. He'll bring on writers. He'll bring on even people who I disagree with. Like he'll bring on Candace Owens and Ben Shapiro, people I don't necessarily disagree with by respect on the conservative side, even on the liberal side too. You know what I mean? So I like that Joe Rogan has a lot more of a diverse guest list, I say.
Yeah, he has. I don't give an F. I'm gonna interview whoever the heck I want.
Yeah,
and that's cool how he has it. He gets blowback from it, but that's cool. Like Tim Ferriss is very,
the people giving blowbacks are idiots because like you sit there saying you want free speech, you want people to be open, honest, whatever, and then you do that and then you're pissed. Like fuck you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. But no, what I mean by the Tim Ferriss is sort of like Tim Ferriss, the way he runs his podcast is very scientific. Like everything's methodical. It's like this fits in here, this fits in there. While Joe Rogan is very free flowing. It's like it's more like kind of like they say is the whole pulling off of a podcast, is it more art or is it more science?
Right.
Where science is more structured and art is more like free flowing. So that's what I mean by like the difference between Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan. Like Tim Ferriss, it's like a certain formula that you follow every single time with Tim Ferriss podcast. Like you know what to expect. I know when certain questions are coming and at what time. There's a whole script. And with Joe Rogan's, it's like completely unscripted.
I agree.
Yeah.
I feel the same way too. Yeah.
So that's the big thing. Although this is one that you should probably listen to. Tim Ferriss did interview LeBron James.
Yes, I saw that. But again, I don't find LeBron interesting either, to be honest with you, anymore.
Well, what I found interesting about this interview is that it was very little about basketball. It was more about his lifestyle, just how he recoups from games and everything. You know what I mean? So it was kind of looking at like his whole preparation as an athlete and as a performer, as opposed to like, oh, what happened in that game last night? And it was kind of like a breath of fresh air because LeBron actually seemed excited to talk to Tim Ferriss as opposed to your typical post-game interview.
Yeah. No, I heard about that interview. It was really good. I mean, I saw at the time when I had the feed, I did see it pop up on the podcast, availability, and I meant to listen to it at one point, but then I just forgot about it because again, I have like 60 some subscriptions now, maybe more, a podcast.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean,
I can't keep up with all that.
Well, a lot of it too is weekly too. A lot of them are weekly shows too. They're very evergreen as well too. So I don't have to listen in the moment. I can listen to it 2 weeks later or whatever. Not a big deal.
I have a fourth buddy that's really into Joe Rogan too. He loves Ben Shapiro also. He's another one of my Trump supporter friends.
And I'm sort of like I'm taking my show in Joe Rogan direction to some degree. Joe Rogan just dumps his fucking podcast. He do interview, boom, dump it. Let's go, dump it. Let's go, put it out there, boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean? So you'll never there's no schedule. He just throws it out there. Boom, 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 boom. You know what I mean?
He does. Yeah,
I did 3 a day, 3 coming out. I did 3 podcasts today. He records sometimes three shows a day. Like he'll do 3 different shows a day and just dump it down. And
I know he does 2. Has he really done 3?
There's 2 definitely. There are days I see 3 pop out of nowhere.
I don't know how he does it. He really is a machine.
Well, if that's the only job he's doing at this point, I mean, he still does shows and stuff, but I think the podcast thing is really his main thing now.
Really more than the stand-up comedy or MMA commentary.
Yeah. My goal is to one day be able to build a studio, like an actual studio in my house, and actually have like guests come to my house and do like conversations like that. I'm so into that shit. Like I love to talk, so I mean I'm into that kind of stuff.
Do you think Miami's a good epicenter for that? I feel like New York and California are the places for it.
California is California really is the epicenter for that, to be honest with you. But I mean, it is what it is,
Although Tim Ferriss is in Austin, Texas now.
Is it really?
Oh, you didn't know that? He actually said you would appreciate this. He said he got tired of the groupthink of San Francisco.
He's a liberal, right?
You know what? He's socially liberal. He's so close to the vest with it and stuff. Like I've heard him say some ignorant shit actually, and that kind of turned me off because I always felt like I was tired of the fact that he says ignorant shit and he will dance. He'll do a tap dance as far away from politics as possible. Like he's had interviewees and guests who really want to talk politics with him, and he will do a 180 so quick. And I'm just like, seriously? And when you don't want to tell me that, you're like, well, he's more of a lifestyle podcast. He doesn't want to do that. It's it's not his brand, but still, he's like, honestly, I think in a lot of ways he's a big wuss when it comes to politics, and I'm not for that, man. And that's actually a huge reason why I stopped messing with him so much. I'm just are you serious?
You want to pick a side?
Just be honest. Like, I want to hear what the heck you have to say. You know, like, there's certain things that Joe Rogan will say, and I definitely think that he, someone summed it up when I heard him, like, someone was giving an analysis of his interview with Candace Owens and how they gave him kudos because he went after Candace Owens for the whole environment thing, and that was, like, one of the few times that he actually kind of pushed back hard on a guest, and that he usually kind of, you know, gives his guests a lot of freedom, and they say the criticism of Joe Rogan is that he kind of enables conservatives a little bit too much. And I do agree with that a little bit, but at the same time, I appreciate the fact that he doesn't care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, he's even said, I remember an interview saying, I don't want to be broadcast on CNN. That's what he said. He's like kind of like this underground kind of folk hero, you know?
Well, but Josh, not only that, but also, I hate to say it to liberals who sit there and, you know, whatever, talk about all this shit, but the conservatives seem to be less like pussies. They at least go on his shows. Like, the liberals don't go on his fucking shows as much. You know, at least they show up for the fucking shows.
You know, there was a point where I felt like there was a point where, you know, if they say they don't read it, I once tweeted that at him. I said, sometimes I feel like you have, like, for every liberal you bring on like 6 conservatives. Where's more of the balance? That was after he had Matt Taibbi, which was quite good. But he really has diversified quite a bit more. Like, I want to hear the Killer Mike interview. He had what's his name, Carmichael?
Jerry Carmichael. I feel like he's
always I thought that was a great interview.
I feel like he's always been diversified. I feel like a lot of liberals don't make themselves available. They just fucking say, so Ben Shapiro go on the show, and fucking Jordan Peterson go on the show, and, you know, whatever, and Alex Jones on the show, and whatever. I mean, look.
I'd like to see Alexandria Ocasio-Cruz go on.
He wants on the show. He said a couple days ago he wants her on the show.
Yeah, we'll see if she comes on. She's very interesting. I don't know, like, the Democratic Party's trying so hard to co-opt her, so hard.
She's pretty,
but yeah, well, you know, no one ever says that if there's such a handsome politician that never is like a detriment to him, but to a woman, it's almost like a detriment. But you're right, she is pretty. Yeah. You know, I feel like what really blew up Joe Rogan more than I think him getting Elon Musk. That was a real feather in his cap. Like, wow. I really think that helped blow him up.
I have still not listened to the interview yet. Like, I've seen clips of it on YouTube, but I have not the entire interview. But I know what happens. It's crazy.
It was probably the greatest awkward interview ever.
Yeah, it was really awkward. Very free.
But it was great.
But again, it's free flowing, baby. It's free flowing. It's the way to go, man.
It is the way to go. You still listen to Bill Simmons a lot, though, right?
Huh?
You still listen to Bill Simmons a lot, right?
Of course, yeah. But what I do with Simmons, though, is that if it's a guest I don't care for, I'll listen to, like, the sports stuff, and then if he's, like, he had on, like, actually, Jack Dorsey actually was pretty good, but there was a guest he had on last week,
Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah, who I like, but I heard I've heard him on 4 different shows the last couple weeks because he's promoting stuff. Well, I don't want to hear it in there.
Yeah, sometimes I get a little burnt on it. Like, sometimes I keep it in my feed and I might delete it eventually. Like, he had Conan on. I haven't listened to that yet. I started listening to him interview Spike Lee. That was good, but I didn't finish it yet. But I'm interested to hear the rest of that.
I'll be honest with you. This week, the only podcast I listen to is my own because I've been trying to organize my feed a little bit. I had the 2 shows and I just combined the 2 on one feed finally because I
look at that, man. You're the man. See, now you're so overwhelmed by podcasts. You're not gonna ask me again to start my own podcast. See?
No, not even that. Is that I figured there was really no point in doing 2 different feeds and having to promote 2 different feeds. I would just promote one feed. My goal my goal in 2019 was efficiency. That was my goal. I made my mission statement this year when I started my first show for this 2019. I said that my biggest goal this year is to be as efficient as possible. Because there was a point a couple years ago that I was doing 3, 4, 5 different shows, and I know it had a purpose, but now I'm like, there's no point doing that. Just keep everything into one feed, you know?
It makes it easier for me, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, there you go. So now anything I do from this point on will be on this one feed. That's it. Earnestly Podcast. Boom. There you
go. Even if you do like a 5-minute hit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Look at that, man. You're the man.
Yeah, the goal this year is to be efficient.
I always love it when you and Matthew McQueenie talk, whether you're on his podcast or he's on yours. Well, that's always a good one. That's always one I look forward to.
It's funny. I've been on his show once. He's been on my show like 8 times already.
Really? You know what? I'm glad you got on one feed because I feel like I've been missing some of your stuff because I had one of your other podcast feeds that I think went dormant or something. Now it's easy to find you. I could just find you in iTunes just in one thing.
Yeah. He was on the show last week actually because he's having another kid is due in a couple weeks. So we made a point to have him.
I feel like a bad friend now. I don't know any of this. And I got another buddy I've been talking to for like a while because I've been having weird stuff with my job situation. He's been in the system a while. Mm-hmm. He's like, yeah, I'm about to have my other son. He's doing Tuesday. I'm like, what? I didn't know this.
Yeah,
we did. About this.
We did a show last week. Maybe 2 weeks ago. On the 25th of January, episode 76. He was on episode 76. He was on episode. Let me see here. 76. I started numbering my podcast again too, also to make it easier to track. He had been on.
I gotta listen to you and Matthew.
Yeah, episode 76. The episode I think was there's another one here. Can't find it. I don't know what it is. But yeah, but I've organized I actually this week. You may notice it now because I used to put like all the information on the titles. I just started like numbering the episodes properly on the left hand side of the title and just putting the guest name. And that's it, and leaving it alone. I thought it was. I thought at the time that I should have put the information in the title. No, I put the name of the. If I'm doing a solo pod, I'll name the episode a different name. But if I had like this episode will be Joshua Jacobs. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that.
You know what I'm saying? No more politics, NBA, and this with Joshua Jacobs. I'm going to put Joshua Jacobs, and then the information will be in the information situation. Again, my goal this year is to be efficient. Efficient.
That's good. Yeah. So look at you, man. You're going to be the next Joe Rogan.
We'll see. I'd love to. It'd be great. I love talking. I can do fucking 3-4 podcasts a day like he does. I don't know if I can do like 3 hours per show, but I could definitely do 2 or 3 hour shows, separate podcasts a day. You know. But
yeah, you've been at the game a while.
Yeah, this is my 8th year.
Really?
My 8th year, 2011. I started doing this.
Did you ever hear the story about how I ended up on Matthew McQueen's podcast?
I sure did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I don't know. He told a story. He told a story on my podcast too. He told a story on my podcast. He told a story on his podcast a couple times when I listened to the podcast. Yeah. I was surprised that you have been in the show in a while though. It's been over a year.
I know. I know. I got to congratulate him on the kid and all that. I've just been kind of out of the loop, and now I finally had just a little bit of downtime.
Him and I become really good friends now. I mean, you know, so we talk every so often, you know, at least once a week. You know, just like I'll text him, "Hey, what's up? You want to do a pod today?" Or whatever, you know. I don't know.
No, I'm gonna go back and listen to that one of you and him from the most recent one. I'm gonna see some of the other ones. Maybe I missed some things. I remember you guys did a couple cool NBA stuff around the finals.
Yeah, I try. You know, my goal. I was telling my wife today too. Like I don't want to. One of the things I really started really making a point of doing now is I don't want to pigeonhole myself into just doing sports anymore. You know what I'm saying? I want to. You know, obviously sports is my sweet spot. You know, and I love talking about sports, but. You know, there's a lot of things I'm passionate about too besides sports. Like I love music, I love pop culture, love TV, love movies, love politics. I love talking about politics with people who I disagree with too because it's more interesting. I like perspective. You know, I like blending that stuff into the show. You know what I mean? You know, obviously, again, in the NBA, you know, the NFL, NBA, baseball, whatever, it's my sweet spot. But I don't want to rely on just that anymore. Sometimes it gets hard to get away from that though because it's such an easy. Oh, I want a podcast. What should I talk about? And sports is always the one thing I can always turn to just go into a a rant. You know what I'm saying?
You know, one argument I have with people with baseball in particular is, like, I think Barry Bonds absolutely 110% should be in the Hall of Fame.
I absolutely agree with you.
Question.
Without question.
And people are like, he's a cheater, though. And I'm like, well, let's go back to baseball when it was segregated. What about all those black baseball players that were disenfranchised? That would have been tremendous players that didn't make the Hall of Fame. Oh, just let them in through the Negro Leagues and stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, but still, like, you can't, how do you compare Babe Ruth as the greatest when he didn't play against all the greatest talent? That's ridiculous. It's just the era. Isn't a Hall of Fame, isn't it a museum? Like, why are we denying these guys? I say Barry Bonds because I'm more of a Barry Bonds fan. Like, I think Roger Clemens is a dick, but I guess he belongs in there too.
No, Barry Bonds is my all-time favorite baseball player. So you'll get no pushback from me here. I'll tell you that right now.
Really? Did you ever read? Have you read the Barry Bonds books at all? Jeff Pearlman.
No, but I do plan on getting on audiobook at some point. I get a free. I pay $15 a month to get a free credit, and it's worth it because the credits are actually cheaper.
You're really into audiobooks.
Yeah, I'm actually reading. I'm finishing up Clay Travis's book. Actually, I'm finishing up Kobe Bryant. I'm finishing up. Let me see. What am I reading here right now? I'm actually pulling it up right now. I love Audible. Audible's great, man. Audible's awesome. Yeah, I'm finishing up the Kobe Bryant book. I'm finishing up my Michael Jackson book. I'm finishing up. I have Jeff Pearlman book. Actually, I just ordered on the Cowboys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I never really got so into audiobooks. I couldn't do it. But if you really like one podcast feed that actually reads a lot like an audiobook is Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had his feed. I deleted it, and I should. I mean, I'm a social studies teacher, too, so it's probably not.
I did also. I actually had it for a while, too. I deleted it only because I wanted to wait until I had a time to. The best time for me to really dive into content is in the summertime when there's nothing going on.
You're right. I've been reading Mark Leibovich's book Big Game on the NFL. Mm-hmm. Pretty good. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize it's really more of a book on like Tom Brady and the Patriots and stuff. And now I'm on the chapter about like Deflategate and what have you.
I just you know the Ian O'Connor book that came out, the making of the Belichick book. I ordered that also too. So I have like 1, 2, 3.
Oh, I am curious by that now.
I have 6 books in the queue right now. I got to finish. Right now I have 2 books I'm pending right now. I'm about to finish reading. So I'm gonna start binging these things. I'm gonna start binging these books in the next couple of weeks. So.
Well, I guess in a way, it's hurt your podcast intake, though, huh? In
terms of listening, or of creating?
Listening.
It's hurt. What I've done is I've taken away the daily sports talk podcast. That's already repetitive. Because who wants to hear about LeBron in LA over and over again every day? That's wasting my time.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying? I replaced that with audiobooks, or replaced that with. Now there's some shows I listen to once in a while that I think is fun because it's actually entertaining. Levitard shows is really great. Cowherd when he wants to be. Actually, podcasts I actually do really enjoy a lot. Tony Kornheiser's podcast actually I enjoy.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, that was one I just never. The Ringer NFL shows are actually quite good. I don't listen to them that much every once in a while.
This is the only Lombardi ones.
Lombardi one?
Yeah.
I actually even deleted the Ringer NBA podcast.
I did too.
Too much for me.
I did too.
It became too much.
I did too. Because it's too much.
Yeah,
I had to go back way.
But so you prefer audiobooks to reading books, though?
Not really, actually. But it's more convenient. I can listen to audiobooks while I'm washing dishes. I can listen to audiobooks while I'm in the car. I can listen to audiobooks while I'm like while I take a nap or go to bed. I can put on audiobooks while I'm trying to sleep. You know what I mean?
Your kids are into it too, or they're like whatever.
The kids are still young. They're only 5 years old, 5 and 1. So
5 and 1, good gap. Yeah. My daughter's about to turn 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. We didn't have. I know we were going to talk about our kids and stuff, but I feel like it's getting late, and I'm starting to lose some steam.
No problem.
Unless if I was there with you, if you gave me an express, I probably could go another hour. But
it's all right, man. We can do this again soon. It's not like a one-time podcast. Okay, never do it again. We pick back up again, and kind of like Rogan. He has guys come back around on a cycle.
You're right. He has. Who's one of his favorites? Joey Diaz.
Joey Diaz is one. Brian Redband is the other one.
I heard the Joey Diaz one in the summertime, and now I've seen him pop up 2 more times. It's like, what else did they discuss? It's like, man, how many times do I got to listen to him interview Joey Diaz though?
He has his own podcast actually though too.
Everybody has a freaking podcast now.
It's oversaturated. It's funny when you listen to that episode with me and Matt from like last week or 2 weeks ago rather. We go into that like he was saying on that show that it's so sometimes there's so much podcasts out there that it actually does not motivate you to not do your own. It actually takes away doing your own. The thing is, though, the key is you need to find a niche that's different from everybody else's and just do it.
Yeah, you know who I think was brilliant at doing that was Malcolm Gladwell.
Yeah. Yep.
Because I at first when I heard Malcolm Gladwell was going to do a podcast, I thought he was going to do just another interview, and I'm like, oh my god, so many interview podcasts, and then he did something completely different with the revisionist history, and I've fallen way behind. I used to live where I lived before was like so close to a park where I would just walk my daughter to the park, and she was small, so you use a stroller, and I would listen to a lot of podcasts like that, just walking the park. But now where I live, but you got to drive to the park all the time. You get there a lot quicker. It's not as good. It's not as much exercise, but still, like just at a time when I was walking my daughter in the stroller everywhere, I felt like I was able to get some more podcasts in.
Oh yeah, when my kid was a baby. Well, I mean, he's still technically a baby now. I mean, it's only to be 2. My youngest one, Logan, when he was a baby, I used to use that time when he was napping or when I'd be holding him to comfort him. Throw in headphones. I'm good. I'm simple, man. Yeah, throw in some headphones. I'm good to go.
Is your wife into podcasts like this?
No way. No. But she'll call my show once in a while, though.
That's cool.
It's been a while, though. It's been a while.
Podcast, even though it's oversaturated, podcast is still like a niche thing, though. Like, I'll tell people about podcasts, they still have no clue what the heck a podcast is.
It's the best. It's the best, dude. I love it because it's an avenue to express yourself. You know what I mean?
It is, isn't it? It's true. It is just like a wide open, free flowing thing.
Yep, I love it.
Yeah,
I got it early, so.
You're right, and if it wasn't for podcasts, I would have never met you. You know.
Exactly.
I know that's what's crazy. The whole small world thing. I know Matt McQueen talking about it and stuff. Like when he had Nuno Damasio on, I remember Nuno emailed me. He's like, "Yo, I was just on a podcast." And, like, I literally looked up on iTunes Nuno Damasio. I'm like, yo, you're on Matthew McQueen's podcast? He's like, you know who he is? I'm like, no, I just looked you up. It was pretty awesome.
It's weird. It's weird how things work, man. It's weird how things work, man. So.
You're absolutely right about that. You are right about that, sir. But,
all right, buddy. We'll talk soon. We'll talk soon again.
Yeah, you're making me kind of moist in the eyes now and stuff. Be like, we'll talk soon, almost as if it's like, well, how soon?
Probably in a month. Probably a month or 2.
Yeah, totally. Hey,
you know
what? Fast communication. The world is flat.
Fucking Kyrie.
No, that was actually a Thomas Friedman book.
Oh,
he said the world is flat. We're just saying about how communication is so much easier now. That's what I meant by that.
Thank God for Facebook and.
But that's funny how you brought up Kyrie Irving again.
Yeah, it's basketball time. That's why.
I guess so, since the football's now over and stuff. Did they do that All-Star draft yet?
Not as yet. They do it next week, I think, or tomorrow. I'm not sure.
Oh, really? Did you know you could do it on ESPN now? You could draft your own team.
Really?
Yeah, you could do the whole thing. You know, kind of like the trade machine, kind of like that. You could put it in there. I did it a couple times. I did it 3 times. I won twice, I lost once. I picked LeBron twice. LeBron's team. They let me go first both times, whether I was LeBron or Giannis. Yo, Giannis, he is something else, man. I was watching a little bit of the game before I called.
He's my MVP.
Before we linked on the phone. Huh?
He's my MVP.
Really? Over James Harden?
Well, the difference is the win-loss record.
You know what? I mean, Giannis, I feel like Harden has his stamp on it and stuff. I mean, Giannis is like awesome, but I mean, what Harden is doing is unprecedented.
Well, I agree. He probably will win it, and I think he has a chance. I just think that if I'm undecided on the two guys, I use win-loss as the elixir.
Oh, that's right. You would have never voted for Kobe as MVP in 2005, 2006, would you have?
Nope, would not have done that.
Even though it was the 81-point game, I thought he was robbed. He was robbed.
Well, I guess if he won a few more games, maybe I would consider it. I guess I don't know. He won.
He was robbed. Steve Nash won the MVP 2 times.
Yeah, he should have won
2 years. He should have won.
Actually, you know what? I stand
on
corrected. You know what? Kobe should have won that fucking MVP. I'm with you.
There you go. And it should have been Shaq on the Heat in 05. And then 07, Dirk never should have won the MVP. That should have been Nash's year.
Yeah. Changed my mind. I'm able to change my mind once in a while. It's okay.
I feel like you talked about this with Matthew McKinney before, and you were saying no.
No, Alvin's never came up with in a conversation with Matt Ashley.
I one time you mentioned something I wanted to talk about the 06 MVP because that always burned me. It's like that was Kobe's year. I don't even know if he should have won in 08, but 06 was his year.
Wait, who won in 08? 08 was him. Yeah, it was 08.
It was Kobe. Some people
Kobe.
say it should have been Chris Paul or even Kevin Garnett.
Garnett had a good argument, actually, to be honest with you, but no, Kobe should have won it. Anyway.
In 08?
Yeah, 08, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'm getting pulled back into basketball, man. Please. I got to talk to you about basketball for like another hour, but it's
We'll save it next time. I'm sure next time we talk, we'll close the playoffs, so. All right?
You're right. All right, sounds good.
All right, buddy. Talk later. Thank you.